Are we in agreement?
Lion. Yes, ma'am.
It's nice.
Working pass forward. Sweep trigger. Set and go.
For all these strong women, is that the same, or if you had now to cook just for anybody, for men, does that make it double special?
Yeah, it's very special because cooking for these women is something. These are not just women, but it's women that is protecting our wildlife.
Chef Judy, please, can you help us with some carbs?
You can use some more bread. Salad. The salad in the office. Let's do it here. That one, concentrate. So when you're done.
Okay. This buffalo is smaller than me. I've got an open question policy. If I ask you a question, if you know the answer, you show by raising up your right hand. And I will ask you questions as we progress. And you're also allowed to ask me questions. You'll find that the more you go on patrol, the more you meet the different kinds of animals. So we move on to the second objective, which is characteristics and behavior. Elephants. Elephants. Okay, that's good. Viola?
Lion.
A lion.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, that's nice. Clarice? Kudu. Yes, ma'am. Alpiri? Leopard. A leopard. You've seen a leopard? Yes. A live one?
Yes, down the
Wow, That's really nice, eh? Elephants live in groups. The oldest female being the leader.
Sergeant TRACY MAKANI.
TRACY MAKANI.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, TRACY, can you explain to me why it is so important, this drill?
Drill is important because it creates uniformity and it also creates discipline among the rangers, and it also creates togetherness, as in the rangers get to do things together, teamwork. Yes, and it also contributes to their physical fitness. It helps them to be physically fit, And it's also an exciting activity to do. As you've seen that we've been singing, so it's fun. And yes, I think that's about it.
Now it's a bit like a military camp.
Yes.
Do you think that's also adequate? Because I mean, could you say there's also like a war against the poachers? How would you put that in your own words?
In my own words, I would say it is beneficiary to the women. Yes, it's sort of a military setup, because the female rangers should be geared up, because normally and mostly the poachers that they meet with are male, so they have to be physically fit and they have to learn to do things together, work as a team, so that when they meet poachers in the bush, they will be able to catch them.
Very good.
Get them up on the line and let's go through some dry practice drills.
Details to demo formation. Move! Move! Bottoms. Up, step direction. Check, delivers and step. Step. Remove magazine. Ease, breathe. Working pass forward. Sweep trigger. Change lever back to step. Report up and up, down. Up. Insert magazine. At a range of 50 meters. Set and cock. Check, levers and safe. Safe. Remove magazine. Magazine in the pocket. Open safety gate. Cock and release. Squeeze trigger. Change lever back to safe. Report up and up, down. Up. Inside magazine. Details pointing to the target. Enter on time. Fire! Unload and make safe. Check levers and safe. Safe. Remove magazine. Magazine on the pocket. Open safety gate. Cock and release. Squeeze trigger. Change lever back to safe. Report up and up, down. Left, right, left. Left, right, left. About 10. Up. About 10. 1, 2, 3, 1. To 50 meter range. March. Left, right, left.
My background is military. I come from working in places like Iraq. I worked with Australian Special Forces. When I came to work in conservation, I brought this mentality across, this military mindset. And of course, when you're a hammer, everything's a nail. And so all our anti-poaching projects were based around going out and defending an area like this from the local community. We did a very big project in Mozambique where we were helping to protect one of the world's largest remaining rhinoceros populations. And the attacks were coming from the communities. And we set up a very big and militarized operation. And essentially we were having a war with the local community. We looked at other industries that were getting ahead by getting more women in leadership positions, more women on the boards, more women in management. And we looked at conservation where women were being left behind. And in most conservation operations, women are outnumbered in the field at a ratio of around 100 to 1. So women are not getting exposure to the experience they needed to be able to rise up and fulfill management positions. So my question was, well, what if conservation could do what other industries were doing and have more women in management and more women in power positions? We tried in many different places to start a trial program of having an all-female anti-poaching unit. It hadn't been done anywhere in the world. And we got closed doors everywhere we went. Nobody wanted to take the risk of having women doing a traditional male role in a very patriarchal society. And then I think through luck and perseverance we found this area here. This place is called Phundundu in Zimbabwe. Across the continent, the African continent, there is twice as much land, wilderness area that is owned by local communities than what there is national parks. And so for us, the long-term struggle became, how do we find a way to motivate conservation from the communities? I did a lot of research and found an overwhelming body of evidence that tells us empowering women is the single greatest force for positive change in the world today. One of the main benefits of this program that we've seen is that women naturally de-escalate tension with communities. So in a potentially antagonistic situation, women seem to calm the situation down much more than escalate it. When you're trying to have a relationship with communities that have tens of thousands of people living alongside an area you're trying to protect, you come to realize there's something much more valuable than biceps and bullets and this militarized solution, and that is relationships. And these women have these relationships at household level in the communities that they were raised in the communities that they are raising their own children in, their own families. They have a long-term vested interest in these areas. The reality is, though, if you look out here across this expanse, it's one of the largest remaining elephant populations left on the continent, but it is an area that lost 8,000 elephants to armed poachers in the 16 years prior to us starting this program. 8,000 times teams of armed men came into this area willing to kill elephants or anything standing in their way. So while we can hope for the best, we also have to prepare for the worst. When I first arrived in Zimbabwe, I had the lowest life expectancy in the world for a woman, which was less than 40 years of age. When we set this program up, if it was going to go beyond a trial stage, we wanted to create opportunities for the most marginalized women in some of the poorest communities. And so the selection criteria were survivors of serious sexual assault, domestic violence, AIDS orphans, single mothers, and abandoned wives. And we had 87 women that came down for initial training, and I sat for 2 days through listening to those interviews, the backgrounds of these women. And they were some of the hardest 2 days of my life, listening to those stories. And it sort of made me reflect also, even though I hadn't done anything personally to these women, I'd been part of a culture that had kept women just like that oppressed. And you know, as we've gone forward, we've maintained those same selection criteria. And unintentionally, what we didn't realize when we set that criteria is we were getting the toughest from these communities and from these societies. Everything that we threw at these women in terms of the selection process, we thought we were putting them through hell. The reality was it was nothing compared to what they came from or stood to go back to.
At this moment, we are about to leave to take off our patrol as usual. So there is a tip-off that there are some poachers who have entered into the park. All right, we're gonna go to that area as well, no problem. We are going to do a cross-graining patrol, a thorough check of the area, making sure that our area is clean. kunyatsotarisa, let's open our eyes handiti tinyatsotsvaga chese chatinofungidzira kuti tokwanisa kuwana.
I mean, that is such a strange project somehow in a world where men have to say, you know, men are the ones who are carrying weapons. When you heard about that, why were you interested? I mean, you could also say, oh, no, that's nothing for me. Well, what touched it in you?
To be the first female or the pioneers of being a ranger, like what I have said, to be involved in a male-dominated space, because before the world only know that for you to be a ranger, you have to be a male, not being a female. A female was used to know as a household wife, household keeper, just bearing children, especially to our Shona culture or our African culture. We're just known as childbearing. So because of the passion love on animals, that's the driving factor that pulled me into this program to be one of the Akashinga Rangers. Our job, yes, everyone knows that being a ranger needs someone who is dedicated, needs someone who is strong, who is physically fit, because for sure poachers are dangerous, especially when they are armed. They have no mercy. Especially when they started to see you in the bush, they will start to fight on you. So they are very dangerous. But because we are dedicated to the work we are doing, we are not even fearing of the poachers. We are ready for the fight. It's something that is quite different because the way we do approach the poachers, we female or women, is quite different to the way the male rangers approach or handle the situation in the ground. I'm very sorry to say that even to male, because the male rangers, they are quite a bit harsh as compared to women. We women, we've got that we are teachers by nature. So we can easily convince the poachers or convince the community so that they can easily understand why we are doing this. To an extent that when we come across with the poachers inside the bush, it will not be a difficult situation for us to arrest them, because we have those skills of approaching the poachers so that we'll easily apprehend them.
A woman like you now, I think you take no more shit. Isn't how you see that?
Right now, I'm an independent person. I don't take no more shades. I'm not even allowing that the situations of being exploited. I can now stand with my own feet. I can stand for myself. I can financially, I can support my family. I can support myself. I can do everything that I need because I am now independent and I'm strong and I'm confident of the life that I'm living now.
What do you then really like about that job? You must love it, no?
Mm-hmm.
What you love then exactly?
What should I love exactly?
About your job?
Being in a position of protecting the animals, that's the most part that I love. Either I'm in rain or sunlight or cold, but having that belief or mentality or understanding that I'm in a position of protecting the animals, that satisfies me.
So what happened here?
We managed to arrest one suspect who was in possession of warthog meat, and this is the warthog meat. They've already been cut, and it's a great loss to Akashinga Rangers because we've lost the warthog, and to receive the information from the community that there is someone who have killed the warthog. Yeah, so by the time when we receive the message, we quickly react to apprehend the suspect. And
This young man here, eh?
yes, and we are very proud that we managed to arrest him.
But do you also understand that they are poaching? I mean, aren't they hungry?
Yes, they're hungry. Most of them, they do this in order to sustain their families. Some of the men from the community, they don't have enough income to sustain their families, so they decide to go into the park and poach these innocent animals.
They are doing a good job.
Okay.
Yes, they are trying to conserve our animals so that our children may grow up knowing if they want to see the elephant, they can go and see the elephant, not to see them in books. So
And what do you think about the fact that they are women? You think that's good?
Yes, they are good. They are doing good jobs. We encourage them to keep on doing the good job so that the animals will remain in the area. And if anyone or our children wants to see the animals, they can just be taken to the ground so that they can see them on the ground.
Do you think women do a better job than men?
No. Men are always ahead.
Okay.
Yes, they can follow us, not being ahead of us.
But they are ahead of you.
No, that's not it. They are not ahead of us.
Of course they are. He's saying that the police showed you where the suspects are. And you're telling me that the Akashinga women, that you got the tip. So what's the story here?
These guys assisted us in searching.
Assisted? Did you hear that? You assisted them.
To arrest.
To arrest, yes.
Sure, but the tip came from them.
Yes.
Yeah, the tips comes from the Tashinga girls.
From the Akashinga
then
girls.
as police officers, as male police officers,
We work
do
hand in
react.
hand with the therapy.
Well, I mean, he's saying that the man will always lead. Do you agree?
Because the men always lead.
I know. Bye-bye.
Did you plant that garden?
Yes, I do. Even on home, I don't eat.
But isn't for you, is there also a philosophical meaning behind eating vegan? I mean, do you understand the concept?
Yeah, the concept of eating vegan is one is for the climate, to save our planet, and scientifically it's health. It's proved to be 100% health when we eat plant-based food.
Zokukurunga kwacho kusanganisa kunodura kukurunga.
The way we have been taught during the training is that we have to live as a family. We've been taught to just live as one family. So we treat each other as sisters.
Well, what's your vision for Zimbabwe and the parks and the animals?
My vision is maybe in 5 years to come, I would like for the poaching, maybe if it is possible by all means, to have a 0% of poaching. Yeah.
And do you think that's possible with all the poverty around here?
Yeah, if we join our hands together, it's gonna be possible.